Let's talk about escape rooms. And this time I'm not going to talk about how to find your way out of an escape room. A lot of my videos are developing skills and observational skills and overcoming logical fallacies and cognitive biases that prevent us from solving puzzles, solving real world problems, making tough decisions, and discovering those literal and metaphorical treasures. But today, in this video, I want to talk about this development, this movement toward escape rooms. Now, an escape room for some in the purest sense is a room that has a series of puzzles that lead to escaping the room. But escape room more broadly is a carefully designed puzzle around a theme that's in a specific room or location, and there's some kind of goal that needs to be accomplished. Now, the goal isn't always just escaping the room. It can have other kinds of goals as well, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But what I want to do is walk you through a series of I think I jotted down 6 steps that can be helpful in building your very first escape room. And these are things that you can try out in your home. You can test out with your friends, invite people over and have them test it out. It can be a lot of fun. It doesn't involve a lot of time or money, and you can design simple escape rooms that are actually incredibly fun, and you can get as ornate and complex as you want and use garage sales and Facebook Marketplace to get all of the different artifacts that you want to create. You can go get as ornate or as simple as you want and still make a really great escape room. I don't know if you know this right now, but there was one source that I located that suggested that there are over 50,000 escape rooms that have been designed so far and are in operation somewhere in the world. So this is not a small movement. It continues to gain traction, and you can be part of it, not just participating in the escape room, but actually building some of your own. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Let me take you through 6 simple steps on how to build your very first escape room. The first one is to set a theme and a goal. So technically, you could call this 2 steps, but I'm going to put them together. Some of the most compelling escape rooms have some kind of overarching theme. It could be something like Santa's toy shop, or an alien research lab, or a nuclear shelter, or maybe the Lost Library of Narnia. You can come up with all sorts of different ideas, but pick a theme. It could be something that you like from movies, or a literary theme, or some other kind of a topic. Oftentimes it could be inspired by a children's book. You can pick whatever theme you want. Maybe it's a time of the year, so you want to tie it into a holiday. But you're going to pick a theme, and then the next thing that you want to do is pick a goal. So what is the end goal? Where do you want to lead people to the end? So maybe it's to escape the room. That could be one part. That's sort of the classic escape room. But it could also be to recover a lost artifact, to discover a hidden or locked treasure, to stop some kind of countdown to something scary. And any of these can be useful. And when you set the goal, typically for an escape room, you're going to give some kind of time limit. So oftentimes escape rooms are designed around 20, 30, 60 minutes. And so you have your theme, you have your goal that you've established, and you have your time limit, and now we're going to fill in everything else along the way. So the second step then is, once you've picked your theme and you've identified your location, you want to choose and divide up your room into some stations. So it can work fine to pick maybe 3 or 4 or 5 stations, and a station can be a place where you will have some clues, so you're leading people from one location to another, and there's some kind of clue that's going from one to the next. Now, I'll talk about clue chains next. Right now, I'm just saying pick some stations. So figure out where you want to lead people. And you might have a desk with books. There might be a cabinet. There might be a map on the wall. There might be a rocking chair with a lamp sitting next to it. There could be a variety of different stations, but you're setting this up because even though you're in an individual room, one of the powerful aspects of an escape room is you actually do have movement, physical movement from one place to the other. Even in a very small escape room, you're moving from one place to another. So you identify and map out your zones that you're going to work with. Once you have that step done, we'll go on to step 3, which is to actually design a puzzle chain. Now, I have another video on different types of treasure hunt clues that might be useful for this as well. I think I'll create a future video also that talks about puzzle types and broadens it even beyond sort of the treasure hunt clues that I have in the other video. But I'm sure you can think of them. You can do some that are riddles. You can do poems, you can do more mathematical puzzles or ciphers. There can be a myriad of different types. There could be an actual map that needs to be deciphered or made sense of, and there are lots of map types. I actually have a video on different map types that you can use for treasure hunts as well. And so here what you're trying to do, though, is build a puzzle chain. So the idea is you are taking them on a journey, and I would suggest that for your first one, you actually do a sequential puzzle chain. So there's going to be a starting point, and that may or may not be disclosed to people at the beginning of the, they may have to just discover it for themselves, or maybe you kind of lead them to where to start. But maybe you even give them a first clue when they come in. And once they solve that clue, that leads them to another zone where they'll discover the second clue, which then, once they solve that, leads them to the next zone and the next zone and so forth until you get to the conclusion, whatever it is that's necessary to accomplish the goal as a group. By the way, I didn't mention this before, but it's nice to kind of keep in mind how many people you're designing this for. Usually an escape room is designed to handle anywhere from 2 to 6 people or so on a team. And that's one of the powers of an escape room, is it certainly has the motivation that comes with it being time sensitive. You have to get done by a certain time, but it also has, and the motivation of mystery, but also the motivation of teamwork and collaboration and support and different people that are helping one another. And you see that oftentimes in an escape room where some are very hopeful and others are getting a little bit pessimistic, and people can kind of lift each other up and overcome each other's weaknesses and build upon each other's strengths. So keep that in mind. So now you've designed your puzzle chain. Usually I would say pick 4 to 6 puzzles or clues that are leading to different zones. You can go back to the same zone more than once, possibly, if you want, as well as you're designing this. But you're mapping out your clue chain, and literally just write this out. Kind of write it out as an outline before you even start building. That can be very helpful. The next thing you're going to do then is actually hide your clues and create the different locks or whatever else is necessary, so you can have a clue that leads to a combination, and they open up the combination and there's something else in that and so forth. So you want to actually hide your clues and set everything up in the space. So put everything where it belongs, get it set for the start of the game. And now you're really ready to try it out once you have sort of things mapped out. Remember, you want it written down so that you can rebuild it later. In fact, that's the next step that I would suggest, that even before you run the first game, I would encourage you to come up with a document that has almost like a punch list of items to reset the room. So what goes where, and it's almost like a checklist where you go through it and check off each item to make sure it's in the right place, it's set properly, and it's all good to go for the next time that you run it, so that you're ready to kind of reset the room regularly. On that list, on that document, some people also choose to stay involved. You can actually be sort of a puzzle designer who engages, or you can actually have even characters kind of hidden in the room who engage. You want to decide whether you want to have clues available to the team. So sometimes a team may get stuck, and you want them just to be permanently stuck, or or are you going to plan out the possibility of people choosing? Maybe they can ask for help, or they can ask for a clue once or twice during the time limit. And you want to plan out what those clues are going to be depending upon when they ask at different stages. So you'll want to have a clue for each of the items in your clue chain, depending upon, again, when they make the inquiry. And you obviously want to plan it out such that there's a simple way for them to ask, and that it's tied into the theme in some way. It could even be as simple as a little hole in the wall where they have a piece of paper and they can write a question, or they could put a ticket in there, and then a response comes out for them that's an added clue or hint or something like that. So there you have it. You set your theme and your goal and your time frame. figure out how many people are going to be in it. You choose your room and you divide it into the relevant sections. Then you map out your clue chain, tying it to the different sections. Then you actually hide your clues and your locks and everything in the right place. Then you want to create your punch list of how to reset the room and how to set it up. And as part of that, you want to create your clue hints for each stage of the game so that you're ready if you're going to make clue hints available. And that's about it. The last thing you have to do is one that's pretty important if you really want to design a great escape room, and that's to plan out some play tests. So find some people who are willing to go through it and you can observe, and then you can debrief with them and ask them what worked, what didn't, was it engaging, was it interesting, and they can give you some tips on how to refine it. Of course, you want them to sign a non-disclosure, officially or not. In other words, you want people to be willing to keep it a secret so that they don't give away all of the great solutions and solves to the clues. And it really is that simple. This is not rocket science, although I guess you could do some rocket science themed room. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You go through these 6 steps and you're going to design a fun, engaging, interesting escape room. You do it 3, 4, 5, 6 times and you'll get pretty good at it rather quickly. And then you'll be able to build your a toolbox of different kinds of clues. And it's almost like storytelling, almost like writing a story, but you're doing it in an interactive form. So I hope you found this interesting. Please try it out. And if you do try these steps and you try it out in your home, or maybe you even do it in some official capacity, if you're a teacher, you're doing it for your students, that's possible too, or doing it at your church or for the community or at the local library, let me know. I would love to hear from you and hear about what you designed. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks, and I look forward to your comments.